What if a high-profile murder case was nearly derailed by leaked evidence? Today, we dive into the gripping pretrial drama shaking Idaho right now. A 2-hour NBC special dropped a torrent of new, source details about the Brian Coberger case, shaking up everyone involved. Images from his phone, suspicious internet searches, and surveillance video surfaced, breaking a gag order that's been in place for over 2 years. This leak has prompted a fierce reaction from the judge and defense, signaling the trial won't be easy. The shockwaves of a leaked documentary. A 2-hour NBC special dropped a torrent of new, source details about the Brian Coberger case, shaking up everyone involved. Images from his phone, suspicious internet searches, and surveillance video surfaced, breaking a gag order that's been in place for over 2 years. This leak has prompted a fierce reaction from the judge and defense, signaling the trial won't be easy. The documentary revealed pictures of college girls from Washington State University and the University of Idaho, some possibly connected to the victims. Surveillance video showed a white car circling the crime scene on the night of the murders, adding another layer of mystery. Perhaps most chilling were the searches Brian Coberger allegedly made for disturbing terms related to forced and drugged scenarios, and even searches about Ted Bundy, the notorious serial killer. Selfies of him wearing a black hood after the murders and his obsession with media coverage were also uncovered. All of this information came from an unknown source, leaking despite an airtight gag order meant to keep details confined to the courtroom. The leak has not only inflamed tensions in the courtroom but has raised questions about how evidence is controlled and protected. The defense lawyer, and Taylor, expressed strong displeasure over the documentary, and the judge ordered a full investigation and preservation of all digital data to find the leaker, although experts doubt anyone will be found easily given the numerous individuals involved in the case. This leak is now shaping the judicial process, with motions likely to be filed to exclude the leaked evidence due to potential jury pool contamination. It's clear this documentary has sent shockwaves throughout the legal proceedings, making an already complex trial even more complicated, and forcing everyone involved to navigate uncharted waters in pursuit of justice. The judge's demand for an investigation. Frustrated by the breach of a strict gag order that had been in place for over 2 years, the judge in the Brian Coberger case demanded an immediate and comprehensive investigation into how the sensitive evidence was leaked to the media, specifically to the producers of the recent 2-hour NBC special. This documentary exposed a trove of detailed and sourced information that was never supposed to be public yet has now cast a long shadow over the trial's integrity. The judge ordered a special prosecutor to scrutinize all parties involved in the case, including police officers and prosecutors, with a focus on their outgoing emails and communications. The directive was clear: put a freeze on deleting any digital correspondence or documents, to preserve the full trail of information. This intense preservation order covers everything from emails to texts, aiming to uncover the elusive source of the leak that has shaken the entire courtroom. Despite the extensive investigation plan, insiders remain skeptical that the source can be pinpointed, given the sheer number of people involved from multiple agencies like Moscow PD, FBI, Idaho State Police, and even Pennsylvania State Police. The leak represents not just a breach of protocol but a significant legal complication, one that could affect the upcoming trial scheduled for this summer. The judge explicitly acknowledged the costs involved, expressing concern that this leak might prolong jury selection and increase expenses for taxpayers of Latah County. Yet, the demand for transparency and justice drives the need to get to the bottom of this breach. This investigation underlines the fierce tension between maintaining confidentiality in sensitive cases and the public's right to know, especially when high stakes like the death penalty hang in the balance. Legal gambits, motion to exclude evidence. The defense team, led by Taylor, is aggressively pushing to have the leaked evidence from the Dateline documentary excluded from the trial, claiming that this information has tainted the jury pool, making it impossible for Brian Coberger to get a fair trial. The judge, however, seems skeptical about removing such significant evidence, acknowledging that these pieces are critical to the prosecution's case. This situation has created a legal tug-of-war, with heavy implications on how the trial will proceed. Excluding this evidence could severely weaken the prosecution's arguments, but allowing it could prejudice potential jurors who have already been exposed to the information outside of court. The infamous gag order that was meant to protect the secrecy of the case over the last 2.5 years has been undermined by these leaks, igniting a fierce debate on courtroom fairness versus public transparency. Taylor and the defense have already filed several motions to exclude various pieces of evidence, seeking any leverage possible to protect their client. The question now is whether the judge will side with the defense's claims about jury contamination or uphold the prosecution's right to present all pertinent facts. This battle over evidence exclusion reflects the high stakes and the complexity of ensuring justice in a case under such intense public scrutiny, especially with a death penalty on the table. The outcome of these motions could also influence jury selection, presenting additional challenges in assembling an unbiased panel willing to seriously consider the charges against Coberger without preconceived opinions. No matter what happens, the legal maneuvering in this phase promises to shape the trial in profound ways, revealing how fragile and complicated the path to justice can be when secrecy clashes with sensational revelations. Jury selection challenges and trial setup. Finding impartial jurors will be a monumental task given the case's high-profile nature and leaked scandal. A death-qualified jury must be assembled for a trial scheduled for 3 months, with hefty demands on potential jurors' time and fairness. The judge is meticulous about rules and procedures, underscoring the trial's gravity. Potential jurors will have to commit from 8:30 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. each day, for a grueling 3 months. There's no guarantee the jurors won't be sequestered if any unexpected issues arise, a move that would add immense pressure and isolation. Screening will involve detailed questionnaires to weed out those who might be biased, especially in a community as emotionally charged as Idaho around this case. It's not just about whether someone has heard about the case, but whether they can remain fair, despite personal feelings and the flood of leaked information. The defense team is especially concerned, claiming the leaked documentary poisoned the jury pool. The judge, keen on maintaining order, has implemented strict courtroom protocols. Lawyers must address each other formally throughout the trial, to keep tensions professional. Additionally, the prosecution has created an exact replica of the crime scene house, a dollhouse model, to help jurors visualize the events better, though the size and detail might be challenging to evaluate far away. Jury selection will begin weeks before the trial's evidentiary phase kicks off on August 11, meaning this exhaustive process will dominate court proceedings in the coming months. Every step, from juror screening to trial scheduling, reflects the intricate balance required when the stakes are this high and public scrutiny this intense. The trial's stark realities and victim protection. The surviving roommates, Bethany and Dylan, have been relentlessly targeted online by trolls and heartless critics, accused unjustly and attacked viciously, making their already devastating experience even harder to bear. The court has recognized this challenge and agreed to limit public visual access to their testimony, deciding that while their voices will be heard through audio feeds, their images won't be broadcast live. This measure is meant to protect them from further harm, but, of course, it raises difficult questions about transparency and the public's right to witness the process directly. Still, the judge is reserving seats in the courtroom specifically for these victims, acknowledging their central role as individuals profoundly affected by the tragedy. Moreover, the court is walking a fine line between shielding the victims from disruptive public scrutiny and maintaining an open, trustworthy trial process. Meanwhile, the defense has requested video cuts for witnesses closely connected to Brian Coberger, like coworkers and potential undercover officers, but the judge has been firm, emphasizing the importance of a public trial and restricting such exclusions to only the absolutely necessary cases, like minors. It's a complex balancing act, as the court strives to uphold the rights and dignity of victims, while ensuring that the legal process remains fair and visible to the community. On another front, the trial features an extraordinary element, a detailed replica of the crime scene house, a so-called dollhouse, already housed in the courthouse. This model allows all parties, including the jury, to visualize the scene in a way that photographs and descriptions alone cannot provide. Yet, questions remain about its functionality in court. The defense has insisted that this model won't stay in the courtroom at all times, to be wheeled in only when needed, and there's uncertainty about how well jurors will be able to perceive the details from a distance. These realities reflect just how intricate and intense this trial will be, not only highlighting the human toll but also the painstaking efforts to reconstruct the truth for justice's sake. Humanizing the defendant and the weight of presumption. Despite the overwhelming allegations against Brian Coberger, his defense team, led by Taylor, firmly maintains his innocence, highlighting the constitutional right to a fair trial. In court, there are moments that reveal a strange mix of normalcy and tension, as Coberger interacts closely with his lawyers, whispering and sharing private exchanges. These glimpses humanize him, showing a man who, despite the severe accusations, is treated like any other person. Observers find it jarring, given the gravity of the charges, to see these almost casual interactions in such a serious setting. This duality underscores a fundamental principle of justice, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, no matter how compelling the evidence might appear. Defense attorneys often face the challenge of representing clients considered guilty by public opinion, but their role is crucial in upholding the fairness of the legal process. They must believe in the principles of justice deeply, advocating vigorously even when the case is emotionally difficult. And Taylor has even publicly stated her belief in Coberger's innocence. This position, especially in a high-profile, death penalty case, requires a strong commitment to legal ethics and the foundation of the American justice system. The courtroom becomes a stage not only for evidence and testimony but also for the reminder that every defendant deserves a fair chance. As the trial progresses, this tension between public perception and legal presumption will continue to shape the proceedings, posing profound questions about justice, empathy, and the human side of the law. Looking ahead, the final stretch. As the trial looms, anticipation grows over the impact of leaked evidence, the difficulty of jury selection, and the intense court management. This marathon trial not only tests legal strategy but challenges our collective faith in justice when secrecy and sensationalism collide. Finding impartial jurors will be a monumental task given the case's high-profile nature and leaked scandal. A death-qualified jury must be assembled for a trial scheduled for 3 months with hefty demands on potential jurors' time and fairness. The judge is meticulous about rules and procedures, underscoring the trial's gravity and the stakes at hand. The surviving roommates have faced vicious online attacks, prompting protections that limit public visibility during their testimony. Meanwhile, the use of a detailed replica of the crime scene house, nicknamed the dollhouse, adds a unique dynamic to proceedings, helping jurors visualize complex evidence. Defense attorneys continue to assert their client's innocence, weaving humanity into a case fraught with overwhelming allegations. The human moments in court remind us that beneath the headlines, real people grapple with immense pressures. The judge's strict adherence to courtroom decorum signals that this case will be tightly managed, despite the many challenges. As families await justice, and as the public watches on, this final stretch serves as a crucible for the legal system's promise, that even amid chaos and leaks, fairness must prevail. How this trial unfolds will test not only the evidence presented but the very fabric of due process that holds our justice system together. This case is a stark reminder, even with shocking evidence and public scrutiny, justice is a complex dance of rules, rights, and human stories. As we watch it unfold, we must ask ourselves, how do we balance transparency with fairness when the stakes are life and death? The leaked evidence has stirred up an intense legal battle, with the defense pushing hard to exclude it, while the judge fights to maintain order and integrity. The challenge of finding an unbiased, death-qualified jury in a small community where everyone knows about the case adds another layer of complexity. Yet, beyond the courtroom drama, there are human lives forever changed, the victims, the survivors, and even the accused, who all navigate this public spectacle under immense pressure. The court's efforts to protect the privacy and dignity of the survivors, while ensuring a fair, open trial, highlight the delicate balance the justice system must strive for. The meticulous preparation for a 3-month trial, including the creation of a detailed model of the crime scene, shows the seriousness and scale of the proceedings. Ultimately, this case forces us to confront the limits of our legal system and the weight of our moral responsibilities. As viewers and citizens, we must remain thoughtful and patient, remembering that true justice is not quick or simple, but is essential for the trust we place in the rule of law.